What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our third episode of this educational series. Today we are going to be talking about how to film a documentary scene. Hey, my name is Thanasis Petrakis, and I'm a director of photography in the sports documentary world. I started out in this business as a production assistant, then an editor and a producer, and transitioned into working full-time filming. I've worked on 30 for 30s, NBA Finals, all types of projects in the last 15 plus years. This educational content is designed to give back knowledge and help people on a similar journey. It's not going to be camera jargon and technical terms. It's practical information that will help you learn how to work in this field. So welcome back. Thank you everyone who's been joining us and sharing these and commenting and asking questions. We appreciate all the feedback we've gotten on these. This one is going to be a broad topic. It's on how to film a documentary scene. And what I mean by that is you're going to get hired by producers, by directors to film a documentary as a director of photography, a videographer, a cinematographer, however you want to put it. You're going to get hired to film a documentary scene. And there's very important things to know when filming for a documentary. So the first thing, when you shoot in scenes, you have to differentiate angles. So the first basic you need, and this isn't just documentary scenes, this is when you're just shooting in general, you need a wide shot, a medium shot, and a tight shot. The reason why you need those angles is you're starting to paint the picture of the atmosphere that you're going to show. So most people are going to shoot medium shots 90% of the time. I feel like it's just kind of a natural way that most people shoot. But there's power in wide and tight shots, and that's what I want to kind of go across. If we were filming an athlete, for instance, if he was running around the track, if we were right up on him the whole time he was on that track, you would have no real perspective of where you are. But if you move all the way back and get this huge wide and now your subject's just this little dot, well, now there's a different perspective. You're building a different type of a scene for your audience. An easy way to get a wide shot is have a wide lens. Drones are easy ways to get powerful cinematic wide shots, but wide shots are very important. A tight shot becomes a lot more powerful when you have that wide to set it up. If you have all these medium shots, you keep on having medium shots, medium shots, medium shots. If you're not getting into the subject's eyes, if you're not seeing the sweat drip down, if you're not getting those details, you're doing your audience a disservice. There's something that a tight cutaway could show that a medium shot can't show, especially when you're talking emotion. It's not even close. You know, if two people are gonna meet, no, you're not gonna be on a long lens. The safest lens, on a cinema camera like this C300, I'll walk around on it with a 16-35 on it, because that's a safe lens. But you can't get great tight shots. You could get good wides and good mediums with that, but you can't get great tight shots. So I'll always have a 70-200 if I have that 16-35 with me in case I need to get close up into somebody. Now this could easily be the first thing, but I wanted to set up angles so when I talked about establishing shots, this already made sense. Establishing shots are huge when you're talking about a documentary scene for all the points that we just talked about. You have to build the atmosphere. For establishers, it's the same premise. You want wide shots, medium shots, tight shots. You want a wide shot showing where you are, whether that be a drone or a wide lens, whatever. Walking further away, across the street, down the block. Any way to get a wide shot to show that perspective. By the time you get to the medium shot, it might just be, the building, and the tight might be, the signage on the building, just to give you a kind of generic of what I mean by going from wide to medium to tight. It's giving your editor points to cut from. But also think of your establishers. Don't do cookie cutter establishers. Your establishers should always have a purpose. They should be telling a story, whether it's where it is, the weather outside, if it's packed. You should be thinking of your establishers to set the scene of where you are. Especially establishers with sound. That's another trick. Make sure you have good sound on your establishers, and that brings you in right away. The one show I always tell people to suggest to watch when it comes to establishing shots or how to film a documentary scene in general is Embedded, UFC Embedded. They do a great job. You know, I'm biased because I do shoot for that show the last 5 years, but I was always taken back by the way they started the show, and that's with a really cool establisher, and then they would bring down their graphic. Establishers are big. It sets the scene right away. Now, moving on to more of the meat and potatoes of following your subject. Most documentaries are going to have a follow doc type of a field, meaning the camera crew is going to have a subject and they're going to follow them for that perspective. When you're following your subject, that style was always called cinema verite, meaning there's like truth to the filming, right? Like you're this fly on the wall and you're following your subject around, and that was the style of filming that became popular for documentaries. So when it comes to following the subject and filming a scene in general, cinema verite style, as we called it, is having a beginning, a middle, and an end. The best way to do that is to start thinking in your head beforehand. Maybe you're following a high school basketball team. Now, if the high school basketball team is going to arrive at the game, that's a beginning shot, a wide shot of the school. If you get that shot with the nat sound of the bus pulling up, the team comes off the bus, well, now you've built a little bit of a documentary scene within 10 seconds. You know, you've set the moment of where you are, and that's a beginning shot. Now your middle shot is usually the meat. Using that same scenario, the game would be the meat. You know, the ending shot would be whatever, a loss, maybe a sad shot to the locker room, a win, you know, happy high fives after the game, whatever it is, but you always have to be thinking in a beginning, a middle, and an end. So when you're filming these scenes, you always have to think story first. Your subject is the story, so you're following them, but you have to give the editor something to cut with. You can't just have all these medium shots of your subject following him around in a scene, and he's mentioning all these things, and you don't have any shots for the editor. You have to be thinking of what's going on. That's what's going to make you a good shooter in the field. You only get one shot at this when you're in the field. Follow your subject, pay attention, and when something comes up after it's happened and it's settled and you have the moment, you know, you have the two people talking and they crack the joke.
Yeah, jollof fry. I mean, it's common in all African countries, but the best is in Nigeria.
Capture the moment and then think about what else to go get. You just have to keep on building the story in your head. You're giving these shots to the editor where it's almost like a no-brainer, like, oh yeah, that shot goes there. Also, huge tip, if you can, mic your subjects. If you could get your subject to wear a wireless mic, you could tell such a better story in the edit.
Stiff arm shoot. That's it. And then remember, conscious of positioning. When you're done, be ready to go this way instead of turn this way because you're gonna put yourself on the rope. Okay, cut the ring back off.
Obviously, you're gonna have to have a trust with your subject, but if you do, it's just gonna pay dividends in the edit because that mic is gonna create so many moments that you can never do by being up close on people, and it's gonna allow for such great access.
Who the best player in the league right now?
Jumbo.
Who the best player?
Your name Johnny?
Who the best player in the
Your name
league?
Johnny?
Who is the best player in the fucking league, dog? Let's fucking go, man. Seriously, man.
There you go.
Now, the next thing you need to know is on-the-fly interviews, or better known as OTFs. OTFs are basically the subject speaking to you in the moment. This allows the subject to start to describe the scene, and it's engaging with the viewer as he talks to the camera, or as she talks to the camera. Most people are into this style of filmmaking, and when you're doing OTFs, the main thing is you're getting the sound from your subject in the same location where you shot the scene. If I was filming a scene with an athlete and his family in the house, the OTF should come from that same room that I just filmed that scene.
Well, I'm making fish pepper soup. This is jollof rice, and that's stew.
Or if you're filming an athlete outside, your OTF should be outside in that same location. I wouldn't film a pitcher throwing outside and then go interview him in his car or in a gym. It wouldn't make sense. It takes you away from the whole moment.
Man, this is the last, workout, but also get together. You can see it. We got everybody out here trying, it's kind of a way to say goodbye.
A pull aside OTF is kind of formal. You're pulling them aside and doing an interview, camera in your hand, and they're talking to you, to a producer. It keeps you in the moment of the scene. That's why it's so important to do it in the same location of the scene you just shot. If you filmed a basketball player in a gym, film that same interview in that same gym.
Set up, you guys are about to be in the finals?
We're in the dunk finals, man. Me and Evan, so it should be a show.
If you go in the hallway, it completely takes you away from that scene. The viewer is not going to connect that that's the hallway of the gym. It just takes you out of that scene. Now, I know gyms can be noisy, so pick your spots, but it's very key to do your OTFs in the same location. Now, a few tips on when you're asking questions with OTFs. Just go back to your basics: the who, what, where, and why. Those quick little questions will help you start your subject to get into describing the story or setting up the scene of what's happening. Hey, what just took place? What are you doing right now? Where are we right now?
And where are we headed right now?
We're going to get a little fresh cut real quick.
You're driving the car, asking them where are we going. That's a good OTF. It's in the moment. They're going to tell you where they're going. It makes sense. They're driving. One big tip is to keep the camera at the same eye level as your subject. A lot of people fall into the trap of shooting down, but you don't want to. You want to have, if they're going down to stretch, you have to get down on the ground with them. You want the camera to be at the same level as their eyes. So when they're talking, that they're looking into the camera like I am. Otherwise, they're going to be looking up at you, and it's not going to be as impactful. For takeaway, the biggest thing with OTFs is making sure you're doing it in the same location as your scene. The second biggest thing is make sure it's quiet. The third thing with OTFs is you want to be on the same eye level as them. And the final one for how to shoot a documentary scene is shooting B-roll and cutaways. Now, a quick explanation of what B-roll is. B-roll is a term that comes from the film days where they shot insert cutaways on a separate camera and roll. The main shots of the scene were filmed on the A-roll. Now in 2020, the term B-roll is still used, and it kind of means the same thing. You're looking for those secondary shots, those cutaways that are going to build the scene. cutaways and the B-roll, that's what's gonna help you in the edit.
Want to get this work in this morning. Another day, paradise.
Using high school basketball, we do a lot of documentaries for high school basketball. Going outside the gym and getting the shot of the line going around the block is gonna help you tell the story that it's a packed game a lot more than a gym that every gym looks the same when it's packed. But not every gym has a line that goes around. That 5-second cutaway is gonna help you tell the importance of that game so much more than anything else could. Cutaways inside a game, cutaways of cheerleaders, of fans, of coaches, of huddles. All these things is what's gonna help you create a scene. Now, some parting tips. One of the best ways to get good at shooting documentary scenes is try editing a scene that you shot. It really helps with accountability. And then you also really start to realize how important it is to shoot cutaways of those things that happened in the scene. It will truly help you become a better storyteller. Thank you everybody for watching. That is episode 3. We're taking comments below on what you want to see for episode 4 or any future episodes. We really appreciate everyone that keeps watching these and sharing these. The feedback has been great, so thank you very much.